Wow! This is amazing! Did you know, boys and girls, that when the Israelites left Egypt, they came to the Red Sea, and God parted the Red Sea, and they walked through on dry land on the sea. The sea divided, and they walked through on dry land.
Oh, my dear, sweet, armless puppet friend, let me explain it to you. You see, the Red Sea is very deep at the bottom, and the Red Sea is very deep in the middle, but the Red Sea at the top, at the pointy bit at the top, is only 1, 2, 3 inches deep, 5, 7 centimeters deep. It is not a miracle for the Israelites to cross the Red Sea in such shallow waters. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Go back to your reading.
Oh. Well, that's too bad. Wow! That's amazing. Did you know that all of Pharaoh's army drowned in just 2 or 3 inches of water? That's amazing! Wow, this is an incredible story.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me for another story time as we talk about the time the Israelites crossed the Red Sea without a boat, without a bridge, no tunnel. Now, there's something I ought to bring up that our dear armless puppet friend kind of was showing us just there. Not everybody believes in the Bible. And that's okay because they don't know God. And if you don't know God, some of these stories seem really kind of far-fetched, but when you know God and you know what He can do and you realize, yeah, you know what? He can split a sea so that hundreds of thousands of people can walk through it. So that's pretty cool. So we want to be kind to those who don't know God like we know Him, because maybe they haven't got to meet Him yet. So today we've talked about Moses quite a bit, and he's doing all right. It's been rough. He's had the burning bush, which was probably a bit of a high once he figured out what was going on. And then he had to bring all these plagues with God against Egypt. And Pharaoh kind of was acting a little bit weird, up and down, like you can go, no you can't, all that sort of stuff. But finally the Egyptians have gone. But when they left, they kind of went the wrong way. Well, when I say the wrong way, not the way you would expect them to go. Now, have you ever got lost before? Have you ever taken a wrong turn, should have gone left when you meant to go right, and all that sort of stuff? Has that ever happened for you? I remember once I was teaching my daughter, who was, she's like 15 years old at this point. I was teaching her how to fly on airplanes, and I was going with her, and I'm not saying she had to bring the flaps up and the landing gear down. I'm not saying that kind of teaching, but just how to navigate an airport. So with me there, I said, let's go find the airplane and see if you can work out which gate, which number, which plane to get on. And she worked it out pretty good, and we sat down, and we were leaving San Francisco and going to London, but around us were a lot of Japanese people, because the plane we were getting ready to go on wasn't going to London, it was going to Tokyo. So instead of all the way over here, it was going all the way over there. And thankfully she had her dad and her nana who texted her to say, are you sure you're at the right gate? Because it's really easy to take a wrong turn. But you see, God was directing them, and God doesn't make mistakes like that. You see, if they'd gone in the obvious direction, they would have had a lot of battles to face instantly. Like the people that were living there were like, oh, we don't want you coming here, you need to stay out. And so God said, if they had too many battles, they will get kind of discouraged. I don't want them to get discouraged, because if they're really sad and you know what, it would have been better to stay in Egypt. So God says, I'm gonna take them this way next to the mountains and towards the Red Sea. And they got to the Red Sea. And it was a nice beach, and the sea was right there, and the mountains on the side, and the road back to Egypt over there. Everything was going pretty good. And they're like, this beats making lots of bricks. This is better. But you know how Pharaoh sort of went back and forth a little bit? Well, once the Israelites had gone, he was like, I miss them. And it's just not the same without them. And who's going to make our bricks now? And then he got kind of mad and was like, I'm going to go get them back. So he got like 600 of his best chariots and like 600 of his best chariots. And he's like, bring all the other chariots as well. And so they went with, I don't know how many chariots it was in total, but a lot. And he and the army went, let's go get them back. And that sort of army is not quiet. The Israelites were like, Pharaoh's coming. He's going to take us back. Moses, help us. This isn't great. I'm really scared. He's going to not just make us make the straw to make the bricks. He's going to make us make other stuff to make the straw to make the bricks. It's going to get really, really hard. I wish you hadn't come, Moses. Moses, what are we going to do? And Moses goes, okay, first of all, just be quiet. That's what you need to do first. We'll get through this. Just be quiet. Do your mums and dads ever go like, when you're like in the back of the car going, oh, this isn't right. What are we going to do? And mums and dads just be quiet. And that's what Moses did. He said, now be nice and calm. Everything will go fine. You will never have to see the Egyptians again. Okay. All right. But he's coming, and there's a mountain, there's a sea. What are we going to do? And Moses is just like, be quiet. Let me go talk to God. And so Moses goes, I don't know if it was a tent, but I just imagine Moses going off into the tent. Moses goes into the tent, and he's like, God, I told them everything was going to be okay. But everything's going to be okay, right? I mean, this is looking a really bit tricky. I know you've done some really cool stuff, but what are we supposed to do now? And God starts saying, just calm down. Everything's going to be all right. It'll be fine. You know that stick? That incredible stick that you turned and dropped and it became a snake, and then you picked it up by the tail and became a stick again, and you put it over the Nile and it turned into blood, and the frogs came and the hail came, and you know that stick? And Moses goes, yeah, believe me, I brought that stick. He said, well, I want you to take that stick and I want you to hold it over the sea and see what happens. So Moses comes out of the tent and he grabs his stick, and the Israelites are like, oh, what's going on now? He's got the stick. What's he going to do? What did God say? Did God say everything's going to be okay? Do we have to go back to Egypt? And Moses is like, just calm down. Calm down. Everything's going to be just fine. Now, I want you all to go and get all your stuff together, get ready to leave. And they're like, where are we going to go? We've got mountains there. We've got the Red Sea there. And we've got the Egyptians coming over there. What? Where are we going to go? And Moses like, get your stuff, meet me down on the beach. And so they get their stuff. Moses gets his stuff, and he carries his stick, and he goes down to the beach, and everybody's watching. And they're like, is he going to turn the Red Sea into blood? Is that what's going to go on? Or are there going to be frogs popping out of it? I mean, who knows what's going to happen when the stick is around? So Moses goes down to the beach, to the water, and he puts his stick up out over the water, and he's like, okay, God, do your thing. Do it now, please. And suddenly the wind picks up and the waters start separating. And there's a wall of water there and there's a wall of water there. And Moses has got his stick. He feels like he's just holding it together. And he's to the Israelites, he's like, go. And all of a sudden, all the Israelites get really polite. They're like, oh, baby, after you. Oh, no, you go for it. Oh, no. I insist. Please go first. finally someone who loves to do new weird stuff goes, I'll do it. And they go through, and then everyone starts following, and Moses is going through, holding his stick. Water stay up there. And meantime, the Egyptians are coming from Egypt on their chariots. And they're getting closer and closer. It's like a chase scene from a movie. And you don't know if they're going to make it or not. And the Israelites are going as fast as they can. And Moses gets to the other side, and he's holding his stick out over the water. And finally...
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Apparently Siri could not hear what I said. and finally, they get through to the other side. And Moses, he puts his stick down. And the water, the wall of water and the wall of water come in and completely cover up the Egyptians. And the Israelites never have to see the Egyptians again. And Pharaoh never saw Moses again. I think Pharaoh's last thoughts were like, never go out into the sea without a boat or a stick that God is using. But the Israelites are on the other side. And they're so happy. They're relieved. And Miriam, do you remember Miriam? Miriam's Moses' sister. She was the one that took Moses down to the bulrushes. And she gets her tambourine and she gets the musicians together and she just starts praising God. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. And everybody joins in. There's just thousands and hundreds of thousands of people just singing praises to God because God has rescued them. He's looked after them. He's kept them safe. They're now finally believe we're not going to be slaves anymore. You know, sometimes God does amazing things just to encourage us. He could have taken them the other way and had fights and battles, but he's like, they're going to get so discouraged. My people are going to be like, oh, this is too hard. I can't do it. So I'll take them to the Red Sea and I'll show them what I can do with them and for them. And together we'll be able to do amazing things. And thankfully after that, the Israelites always followed God, always did what God says. Not exactly. There are going to be times when Moses is going to need this stick again. God's going to work through this stick some more. This stick will come back. But right now, the Israelites are looking out over the Red Sea back towards Egypt, knowing that they are free people, that God has looked after them because God always looks after his people. You know what? He looks after you too. It's not always easy, and sometimes it's a long story. But God always looks after his people, and God always looks after you. Hey, next week, God's going to come down and talk to his people directly and tell them how they should live. You might have heard of this chat, but that's next week's story. Until then, have a wonderful week. Love God, knowing that God loves you. And I will see you on another story time next week. God bless you guys.